The Soviet Union didn't really have beauty pageants, not because they couldn't organize one, but because the whole idea just didn't fit. Beauty wasn't supposed to be a competition. It wasn't meant to be turned into a show. In the Soviet system, people were valued differently. By their work, by what they contributed, by how well they fit the ideology. Even the image of a woman was different. Not a model, not a beauty queen, but a worker, an engineer, a teacher. And then, by the late 1980s, the logic starts to shift. Perestroika, glasnost. A gradual opening to the outside world. Western culture begins to seep in. Magazines, advertising, television. And along with it, a completely new way of looking at appearance. In 1988, a new event is announced in Moscow. Moscow Beauty. Officially, it's just a city-level contest, but in reality, it becomes the first legal beauty pageant in the Soviet Union. And the reaction? Immediate. Thousands of girls show up for casting. Lines stretch down the street. People wait for hours. Some come back multiple days in a row. For many, this isn't just a contest. It's an opportunity, a shot at a completely different life. The selection process happens in stages. First, basic registration, then initial screening. At this point, it's pretty straightforward. Looks, height, overall appearance. But then it gets more serious. Interviews, questions. You have to speak well. Carry yourself confidently, because the organizers are trying to do something tricky. They're introducing a new format, but they don't want it to feel too Western. So everything stays relatively restrained. No overt sexuality, very little glamour. Even the runway part feels different, more reserved, more controlled. You can still feel the Soviet framework holding it together. The jury reflects that too, not just people from fashion, but cultural figures, journalists, public personalities. They're not judging just beauty. They're judging the whole image. The final takes place in Moscow. The venue is packed, and at this point, it's no longer just a contest. It's a national event. People are watching, talking, arguing. For some, it feels like freedom. For others, it feels like something is slipping away. The winner is Maria Kalinina. She's 16 years old, and that detail matters. She's not a professional model, not a celebrity, just a regular schoolgirl. And that makes her win feel more acceptable to a Soviet audience. But what happens next is something completely new. After the contest, her life changes almost overnight. She gets the opportunity to travel abroad, signs a contract with a modeling agency, starts receiving offers, advertising, photo shoots, fashion work. Basically, a whole new career path opens up, one that didn't really exist in the Soviet Union before. And this is where it gets interesting. The beauty pageant becomes more than just a show. It turns into a social elevator, a way to step outside the limits of everyday Soviet life. But at the same time, the criticism grows. Some people see it as progress, a sign of freedom. Others see it as a loss, a shift away from the values the system was built on. And that tension perfectly captures the late 1980s, a moment when the old system is clearly breaking down, but the new one hasn't fully formed yet. And Moscow Beauty sits right on that edge. After 1988, similar contests started popping up everywhere. Different cities, regional competitions. Winners begin taking part in international pageants. The Soviet Union slowly enters the global beauty industry. Something that would have been unthinkable just a few years earlier suddenly becomes normal. And in that sense, the first beauty pageant in the USSR isn't just a cultural event. It's a turning point, a moment when the country starts to rethink what it values in a person. Appearance, success, individuality. Things that used to be secondary are now moving to the front. And maybe, for the first time, people begin to ask a different question. What does it actually mean to be beautiful in a changing world? So what do you think? Was this a step forward or the beginning of something else?